Dive planning. In this module, you will learn how to plan a dive, find out how to solve some of the problems that may arise underwater, and examine some techniques that you can use to assist or rescue a dive buddy. Planning. The theory part of the course is nearly over, and you are now almost ready to begin your marvelous adventure that will lead you to explore the seas all over the world. The underwater world is about to open its doors to you and reveal its fascinating secrets. However, before beginning this wonderful experience, you still have to learn an extremely important aspect of diving: planning. Only with careful planning can you guarantee that your dives will be easy, safe, and enjoyable. The organization of a dive can be divided into 3 phases: advanced planning, pre-dive preparation, on-site planning. The advanced planning phase should begin well in advance. The first thing to decide is the dive objective. It is essential to establish exactly what you are going to do under the water. For example, underwater photography involves very different choices than if you are going to search for an object that has been lost on the seabed. On the basis of the objective, you should then choose the most suitable dive buddy or buddies to join you on this adventure and decide where the dive is going to take place. According to the objective and the chosen location, you must now establish the actual dive site and how you are going to get into the water and, more importantly, how you are going to get out. You should also establish an alternative site in case the weather or sea conditions make your diving at your first choice of site difficult or impossible. Having done this, you can now go on to find out as much information as possible about the site and the underwater conditions: depth, type of seabed, water temperature, currents, and so on. It is also important to consult a long-range weather forecast. Internet is a great source of information, but remember that not all of the information is reliable. You can also get a lot of information from the diving center you will be diving with, or from other divers who are familiar with the site. It is extremely important to make sure that the information you get about emergency services is correct, such as the nearest hospitals and hyperbaric chambers, and the telephone numbers of organizations that offer assistance to divers. On the basis of the dive objective, you should choose the equipment you will need and make sure that it is all working perfectly. You should do this a few days before the dive so that there is time to have it repaired if necessary. On the day before the dive, you should pack your dive bag or basket. The best way to do this is to pack the things you will need last at the bottom of the bag or basket. In this way, assembling the equipment will be easier and a lot tidier, which is particularly important when you are diving with a large group of divers. Before the dive itself, you must do the on-site dive planning together with your buddy. For example, you must decide who is going to lead the dive. It is also important to agree on the signals to be used and what to do in case of any difficulties. Finally, you have to establish a depth and time limit and the air reserve at which you should begin the ascent. Obviously, all this planning is of little use if you or your buddy don't dive as planned. With experience, you will learn to plan dives easily. Keeping a diary with all the information about the dive and the site, your impressions and what you saw and experienced is a good way of keeping a report that will be extremely useful for planning dives in the future. All divers keep a personal logbook. The PSS logbook is one of the handiest. A logbook also serves as proof of your diving experience over the years to those who don't know you as a diver. Every dive should be signed by the instructor, the guide, or your dive buddy. Problem solving. Despite good planning, problems may arise during a dive that must be dealt with in the right way. With experience, you will learn to recognize if something is going wrong before the problem actually occurs. At the moment, it is enough to know the most efficient way to deal with a problem. The first thing to do is to stop, breathe deeply, and consider how to solve the problem. Only after considering how to solve the problem should you act. Any problem, even the most banal, can degenerate into an emergency if it is not dealt with in the correct manner. Therefore, always stay calm. Remember that a diver's worst enemy is panic. Let's now take a look at some simple problems and how to solve them correctly. A flooded mask can be solved easily by clearing it. However, if you actually lose the mask, or if it breaks so that it cannot be used, you will have to learn how to ascend without it. Pay attention to the audible alarms of your dive computer and get your buddy to assist you as you ascend to the surface. A broken fin strap is an easy problem to solve. It is possible to swim with just one fin, and your PSS instructor will teach you how to do this. There are two possible problems that may occur with a buoyancy compensator. The BC cannot be inflated using the inflator button. In this case, just inflate it orally. The BC inflates by itself. To solve this problem, just detach the hose from the power inflator device. It is easy to prevent problems occurring with equipment. Just make sure that all your equipment is regularly serviced and that you check it well before each dive. In case of breathlessness, stop what you are doing and breathe deeply. If you need assistance, don't hesitate to ask. If you feel dizzy or lose your sense or orientation, you can follow the bubbles that always rise towards the surface. If you do happen to become separated from your buddy, the usual procedure is to search for 1 minute under the water, and if you cannot see him, you must ascend. This procedure should always be followed, unless the person responsible for the dive gave other instructions. Always apply the procedure of stop, breathe, think, act when faced with any unexpected problem during a dive. In case of entanglement in line or fishing net, it is no good trying to swim frantically. Get your buddy's attention and he will free you in just a few moments. Safe diving also means having some basic first aid and rescue skills. In this way, you will be able to assist a buddy in difficulty and even administer first aid in case of an emergency. Everyone, divers and non-divers, should attend a specialized course in first aid and cardiopulmonary resuscitation, such as the First Aid CPR course run by the Emergency Division of the PSS organization. Future prospects. Now you are ready to fly into this underwater kingdom with your own wings. The doors to this wonderful world have been opened and your adventure has just begun. To continue diving safely without an instructor, remember to always dive within your limits. Choose your dive buddies well and don't accept dares. As your experience increases, so will your capabilities and your personal limits. Dive as often as you can. Continuous practice will enable you to become more expert and more confident in what you can do. You can shorten this process safely by participating in a PSS Advanced Open Water Diver course. This is a fascinating experience in which you will use your skills to carry out specific tasks underwater, discover the diving activity that interests you the most, reach deeper depths, and learn navigating techniques that will surprise you with their efficiency. We are waiting for you.